The afternoon sun streamed through the expansive windows of my sister Olivia's pristine living room. Everything felt perfectly arranged, from the cream-colored sofa to the art on the walls, a tableau of suburban aspiration. My daughter, Chloe, was quietly coloring in a corner, and for a moment, it almost felt like a normal family visit. But then, a sharp sound cut through the air, followed by words that would echo long after the quiet was shattered. My 7-year-old stumbled backward, tears instantly welling up in her eyes. Liam, my 11-year-old nephew, sneered, his face contorted with a contempt that felt far too old for him. "You're broken, worthless," he spat. "My mom says, your family can't afford anything nice." Chloe looked at me, confused and hurt, waiting for me to fix this, like I always tried to fix everything. Before I could even move, before I could process what had just happened, I heard laughter. Not the nervous kind, but genuine amusement. Olivia, my older sister, sat on her cream sofa, glass of wine in hand, actually laughing at the scene her son had created. David, her husband, stood behind her, a smug smirk plastered on his face, as if this were some dinner theater they'd paid to watch. Something inside me went completely still. "Olivia," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "Your son just pushed my daughter and called her worthless." She waved a dismissive hand, still smiling. "Oh, lighten up. Kids say things. Liam's just being honest." "Honest?" The word came out sharper than I intended. "He's just repeating things he's obviously heard from adults in this house." David stepped forward, his expression hardening. "Maybe if you focused more on providing for your kid instead of always needing handouts, Liam wouldn't have anything to repeat." The air left my lungs. Handouts. They were twisting the help I'd given them, turning it inside out until I became the villain. My hands started to tremble, but my voice stayed level. "From today on, handle your own life." Olivia's laughter died. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Exactly what I said. I'm done." I took Chloe's hand. "Come on, sweetie. We're leaving." "You can't be serious." Olivia stood up, her wine glass forgotten. "You're going to throw a tantrum over nothing." I looked at her then, truly looked at her, and wondered when my sister had become someone I didn't recognize. "Nothing, right? Your son physically hurt my child and verbally targeted her. You laughed, and I'm overreacting? Got it. Wait, you can't just..." David started. "Watch me." I walked toward the door, Chloe pressed against my side. Olivia followed us into the hallway. "If you leave like this, don't expect me to forget it." I turned around one last time. "Good. I'm counting on you remembering." The drive home passed in silence, broken only by Chloe's quiet sniffles. My daughter, my beautiful, sensitive girl who loved everyone and believed the best in people, had just learned that family could be cruel. I'd shielded her from so much, worked myself to exhaustion to give her stability, and now this. "Mom?" Her small voice cut through my thoughts. "Did I do something wrong?" My heart shattered. "No, baby. You did absolutely nothing wrong. Liam was being mean, and that's on him, not you. But we are broke, aren't we? I heard you crying last month when the car broke down." I pulled into our driveway, a modest duplex in a neighborhood that had seen better days. Nothing like Olivia's 5-bedroom house in the gated community. I turned to face my daughter. Being broke is temporary. Being cruel is a choice. We might not have everything we want, but we have everything we need, and we have each other. That's worth more than all of Aunt Olivia's fancy furniture. She nodded, but I could see the damage was done. Seeds of insecurity had been planted. And I hated my sister for it. That night, after Chloe finally fell asleep, I sat at my kitchen table and let myself feel everything I'd been holding back. Rage, betrayal, grief for the relationship I thought we had. Then I pulled out my laptop and started making a list. Every single thing I'd done for Olivia over the past 5 years appeared on that screen. The pattern revealed itself like a crime scene photograph developing in solution, showing me exactly how I'd been used. When she'd needed a down payment for her dream house, I'd emptied my savings account. $15,000 that represented 2 years of putting away every spare cent. She promised to pay me back within 6 months. That was 4 years ago. The wedding cost came next. Olivia had wanted something spectacular, and Carol had pressured me relentlessly about family obligation. I'd taken out a personal loan for $8,000 to cover the photographer and the cake because their budget was tight. She'd spent $40,000 on that wedding. My loan still had $3,000 remaining on it. Then came the smaller things that added up like water filling a bucket drop by drop. I'd watched Liam and his younger brother Noah every weekend for 2 years straight while Olivia and David took couples trips to wine country, beach resorts, and mountain lodges. Free childcare, they called it. Family helping family. I designed and built their entire website for David's consulting business. Work that would have cost them $15,000 minimum from a professional firm. Olivia had bought me a $50 gift card to a restaurant as thanks. When their basement flooded, I'd spent 3 weekends helping them salvage, clean, and organize. I'd thrown out my back moving their furniture and spent 2 months in physical therapy that my insurance barely covered. The list went on. Car repairs I paid for when they were between paychecks, despite David's 6-figure income. Groceries I bought. Bills I covered. The endless emotional labor of listening to Olivia complain about her life while never once asking about mine. I totaled everything up, assigned conservative monetary values to my time and labor, and stared at the number. $47,000, give or take. Nearly $50,000 I'd poured into my sister's life while struggling to keep my own head above water. My phone buzzed. A text from Olivia. "You're being ridiculous. Call me so we can talk about this like adults." I set the phone down and went to bed. The next morning brought a voicemail from Carol. Her voice dripped with disappointment, the tone she'd perfected over years of making me feel small. "I heard what happened yesterday. Olivia is very upset. You know she didn't mean anything by it. And you're being oversensitive. Liam is just a child. Call your sister and apologize so we can move past this ugliness." Apologize. I should apologize for my daughter being subjected to such cruelty and mocked. The familiar weight of family expectation pressed down on my shoulders, trying to bend me back into the shape they wanted. I deleted the voicemail. Work provided a welcome distraction. I managed social media accounts for a mid-sized marketing firm. Decent pay, but nothing spectacular. My boss, Brenda, had been dropping hints about a promotion to creative director for months, but the position required relocating to our Denver office. I'd turned down the preliminary discussions because of Chloe. Moving her away from her school, her friends, and yes, even her extended family had seemed cruel. She adored her grandmother, despite Carol's favoritism toward Olivia. She loved playing with her cousins, even though Liam had always been territorial and difficult. Sitting in my cubicle, I reconsidered everything. The patterns I'd ignored for years suddenly became impossible to miss. Every family gathering followed the same script. Olivia would arrive late, complaining about traffic or the babysitter or some minor inconvenience that had ruined her day. Carol would rush to soothe her, offering wine and sympathy. I'd arrive on time with a dish I'd spent hours preparing and barely get a hello before being asked to help set the table or watch the kids during meals. Conversations revolved around Olivia's life, her remodeling projects, vacation plans, Liam's achievements at school, David's latest work triumph. When I tried to share anything about my own life, the topic would shift within minutes. My promotion last year had earned a distracted, "That's nice," before Olivia launched into a story about the designer purse David had bought her. The financial imbalance aided me more than I'd admitted to myself. I drove a 12-year-old sedan with a temperamental transmission. Olivia traded in her luxury SUV every 3 years. My apartment had second-hand furniture and discount store decorations. Her house looked like something from a magazine spread, professionally decorated with furniture that cost more than I made in 6 months. Yet somehow, I was always the one helping her. The cognitive dissonance had twisted my thinking for so long that I'd stopped questioning it. Family helped family, Carol always said, but the help only flowed in one direction, and I'd been too conditioned to notice. My coworker, Sarah, had pointed it out 6 months ago after overhearing a phone call with Olivia. I'd been arranging to watch Liam and Noah again, rearranging my entire weekend to accommodate my sister's spa getaway. "Does she ever watch your kid?" Sarah had asked bluntly. The question had stunned me. "She's busy. David works long hours and the boys have activities." "So do you work full-time?" "Chloe has activities, and you're a single parent. When's your spa weekend?" I hadn't had an answer. I'd never even considered asking Olivia for that kind of help. The thought felt presumptuous, like I'd be overstepping some invisible boundary that only applied to me. Now, staring at my computer screen without seeing it, Sarah's question echoed differently. When was my spa weekend? When did anyone in my family consider what I needed, what I wanted, what would make my life easier? The answer was never. I'd been so busy being the reliable one, the helpful one, the one who never caused problems, that I'd erased my own needs from the equation entirely. My phone rang. Olivia's name appeared on the screen. I let it go to voicemail, something I'd never done before. 15 minutes later, a text arrived. "Why aren't you answering? I need to talk to you about Thanksgiving. Carol wants you to bring 3 sides this year instead of 2. Also, can you come early to help set up and watch the boys so David and I can go pick up the turkey?" 3 sides. Early arrival. Free childcare. Not a single question about whether this worked for me, whether I had other plans, whether I might want to actually enjoy the holiday instead of working through it. I typed and deleted for responses before settling on something simple. "I'll let you know." The response came immediately. "What does that mean?" "Carol's counting on you." Of course, she was. Everyone counted on me. That was my role in the family ecosystem, the dependable one who made everyone else's lives easier while her own life remained an afterthought. My desk phone rang. Brenda's extension. I picked up, grateful for the interruption. Can you come to my office? I want to discuss something. Her tone was serious, and my stomach dropped. Had I messed something up? I'd been distracted lately, my mind wandering during meetings, struggling to focus on campaigns and metrics when my personal life was imploding. Brenda's office overlooked the city, floor-to-ceiling windows providing a view I never got tired of. She gestured to a chair, her expression unreadable. I'm going to be direct, she said. You've been off your game lately. Not bad, but not your usual standard. What's going on? The concern in her voice nearly broke me. When was the last time someone in my family had asked that question and actually wanted to hear the answer? Family stuff, I managed. I'm handling it. The Denver position is still open. In fact, I've held off filling it because I keep hoping you'll reconsider. She leaned forward. You're the best person for this job. Your work is creative, strategic, and you understand our clients better than anyone else on the team. But more than that, I think you need this opportunity. A fresh start might be exactly what you need. I have Chloe to think about. Kids are resilient. My daughter was 8 when we relocated from Detroit. She cried for a week, then made 3 new best friends, and forgot she'd ever lived anywhere else. Brenda's smile was gentle. I'm not pressuring you. I just want you to know the offer stands, and I think it could be good for both of you. Walking back to my cubicle, her words circled through my mind. Fresh start, the phrase carried weight, possibility, the promise of something different. That evening, I sat down with Chloe and asked her a question I'd never thought to ask before. If we could move anywhere, start completely over, would you want to? She looked up from her coloring book, considering. Would we still see Grandma Carol? We could visit, and she could visit us. Would we have to see Liam? The way she said it, careful and quiet, told me everything I needed to know about the damage that had been done. My daughter was afraid of her own cousin. She dreaded family gatherings because of him, and I'd been too caught up in obligation to protect her from it. No, baby. We wouldn't have to see anyone who's mean to you. Then yes, I'd want to move. Her answer was immediate, certain, and it crystallized every doubt I'd been wrestling with into clarity. I was staying in a situation that hurt both of us because of some misguided sense of duty to people who didn't value us. That night, I made a spreadsheet, not just of what Olivia owed me, but of what staying was costing me. Every weekend spent babysitting was time I couldn't spend with Chloe. Every dollar given to my sister was money I couldn't save for my daughter's future. Every emotional conversation processing Olivia's problems was energy I couldn't spend on my own healing. The cost of staying wasn't just financial. It was measured in opportunities missed, self-respect eroded, and teaching my daughter through example that her needs should always come last. I opened my laptop and composed an email to Brenda. I'd like to discuss the Denver position in detail. When can we meet? Her response came within 5 minutes, even though it was nearly 9 at night. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. I'm thrilled. The decision felt simultaneously terrifying and inevitable, like stepping off a cliff and discovering I could fly. You look like you're plotting something, my coworker Sarah said, appearing with coffee. The good kind of plotting, or the kind that ends up on the news? I laughed despite myself. The kind where I possibly uproot my entire life. Denver? She'd heard me mention it before. What changed? I told her the abbreviated version. She listened, her expression shifting from sympathetic to angry. Please tell me you're done with them. So done. I'm just figuring out what that looks like practically. It looks like taking that promotion and getting out of this city. Fresh start, better money, away from toxic people. Seems pretty straightforward to me. She made it sound simple. Maybe it was. The texts from Olivia escalated throughout the week. First came justifications, explaining how I'd misunderstood the situation. Then anger, accusing me of abandoning family over nothing. Finally, panic when I still didn't respond. Carol's birthday is in 3 months. You have to come. She'll be devastated if there's drama. I need you to watch the boys next Saturday. I have plans. David's company party is coming up, and I need help finding a dress. Want to go shopping? Every message got the same response from me, silence. The real breaking point came when she showed up at Chloe's school. The principal called me at work, her voice tight with professional concern. Ms. Riley, your sister is here trying to pick up Chloe. She's not on the approved list, and Chloe seems uncomfortable. Can you clarify the situation? My blood ran cold. Do not release my daughter to her under any circumstances. I'm on my way. The drive to the school took 12 minutes that felt like hours. Olivia's car was still in the parking lot when I arrived, and she was standing by the office entrance looking indignant. There you are, she snapped when she saw me. I've been waiting for 20 minutes. These people are treating me like a criminal. What are you doing here? I came to take Chloe for ice cream. We need to talk to her. Explain that you're overreacting and everything's fine. The audacity stole my breath. You came to my daughter's school without permission to convince her that her own feelings about being hurt don't matter? Oh, don't be so dramatic. I thought if she and Liam spent some time together, they could work it out. Kids forgive easily. Ms. Davies, the principal, emerged from the office, Chloe's hand in hers. My daughter's face was pale, eyes wide with confusion and fear. Chloe expressed clearly that she doesn't want to go with her aunt, Ms. Davies said firmly. Ms. Riley, do you want to file a report about this incident? Olivia's face went white. A report? Are you insane? I'm her aunt, not some stranger. You attempted to remove a child from school property without guardian permission. That's serious. Regardless of your relationship, Ms. Davies kept her tone professional, but her message was clear. I looked at my sister, really looked at her, and saw someone I didn't recognize. Desperation had replaced her usual smugness. The controlled, perfect image had cracks showing through. I don't want a report, I said quietly. I want you to leave and never come to my daughter's school again. If you show up here one more time, I will file every report possible. You can't keep me from her. I have rights. You have no rights. None. She's my daughter, and you've proven you can't be trusted around her. I took Chloe's hand from Ms. Davies. Leave now. Olivia opened her mouth to argue, saw something in my expression, and closed it again. She turned and walked to her car with stiff, angry movements. Ms. Davies touched my shoulder gently. I'll update our security protocols. I'm sorry this happened. In the car, Chloe was quiet for several blocks before speaking. Why did Olivia come to my school? Because she doesn't understand boundaries or respect other people's feelings. But she won't do it again. I don't like her anymore, Mom. The simple statement held so much weight. My daughter had made her own decision about Olivia, independent of my influence. She'd seen clearly what took me years to recognize. That's okay, baby. You don't have to like everyone, even if they're family. That night, I updated the school's approved pickup list and sent a formal letter to the principal documenting the incident. I also changed my voicemail to screen calls and blocked Olivia's number from texting me directly. They'd go to a filtered folder I could check once a day instead of having them assault me constantly. David called from his office number, clearly hoping I'd answer an unknown number. "This has gone far enough," he said without preamble. "Olivia is falling apart. She barely sleeps. She's crying constantly. And she showed up at your daughter's school because she's desperate. You need to talk to her." Showing up at Chloe's school wasn't desperation. It was a violation. She tried to take my child without permission to manipulate her into accepting what happened. She just wanted to fix things by teaching Chloe that her feelings don't matter, that when someone hurts you, you should just get over it to make other people comfortable. That's not fixing anything. You're being unreasonable. Families fight and make up. This vendetta you're on is unhealthy. The word vendetta struck a nerve. This isn't a vendetta. It's self-preservation. Your wife watched your son shove my daughter and laughed. Then she tried to manipulate my child behind my back. These aren't the actions of someone who deserves access to us. Liam's just a kid who didn't know better. He's 11 years old enough to know that hurting people is wrong. The fact that he doesn't tells me everything about what he's learning at home." David's voice hardened. "You want to talk about what kids learn at home? Chloe's learning that running away solves problems. That family doesn't matter. That you can just cut people off when they disappoint you. She's learning that she deserves respect. That people who hurt her face consequences, that her mother will protect her even when it's difficult. If those are the wrong lessons, then I'm fine being wrong." I hung up before he could respond. The next day brought a letter from Carol, actual physical mail, instead of a phone call or text. Her handwriting covered 3 pages, paragraphs of disappointment and pleading. She wrote about family legacy, about how her own mother had cut off relatives over petty disputes, and how painful that had been. She talked about Olivia's struggles, how hard marriage was, how stressful parenting could be, how I should have more compassion. Not once did she mention what happened to Chloe. Not once did she acknowledge that my daughter had been hurt. The entire letter centered on Olivia's pain, Olivia's needs, Olivia's feelings. I put the letter in a folder with all the financial documentation I'd compiled. Evidence of a pattern that stretched back years, proof that I wasn't imagining the imbalance. Sarah came over that weekend with wine and takeout. I showed her the letter, the list of money owed, the texts from Olivia. "Your family is something else," she said, shaking her head. The audacity to show up at Chloe's school like that. David called it desperation. Manipulation is what it was. Trying to go around you to get to your kid, that's calculated, not desperate. She was right. Every action Olivia had taken followed a pattern of escalation designed to force me back into compliance. When ignoring her didn't work, she tried showing up in person. When that failed, she'd attempted to access Chloe directly. What if I am being too harsh? The doubt crept in despite everything. What if I'm punishing her too severely for one mistake? Sarah sat down her wine glass with a decisive thunk. Stop. One mistake is forgetting your birthday. One mistake is being late to dinner. Watching your kid shove another kid and laughing about it isn't a mistake. It's a character reveal. And trying to take Chloe from school? That's showing you exactly who she is. Carol thinks I'm destroying the family. Your mother enabled a narcissist for 30 years and can't handle the consequences. That's not your problem to solve. The blunt assessment cleared away the fog of guilt that had been clouding my judgment. My family had trained me to accept unacceptable behavior, to smooth over problems, to sacrifice my own well-being for everyone else's comfort. Breaking that training felt like betrayal, but it was actually liberation. I'm taking the Denver job, I said out loud, making it real. Sarah's face broke into a huge smile. Finally. When do you leave? 6 weeks, maybe 8. I need to give proper notice, pack, get Chloe enrolled in her new school. I'm going to miss you like crazy, but this is the right move. Get out of this toxic city and build something better. Her support meant everything. Having someone validate my choice, confirm I wasn't being cruel or unreasonable, helped quiet the voices in my head that sounded suspiciously like Carol's disappointment. Friday evening, Olivia showed up at my door. I considered not answering, but Chloe was watching television and would know someone had knocked. I opened the door, but didn't invite her in. We need to talk, she said. No, we don't. You're being childish. I came here to clear the air. The least you can do is listen. The least I can do is exactly what I'm doing. Nothing. I started to close the door. She stuck her foot in the gap. I'm your sister. You can't just cut me off. Watch me. Move your foot. What do you want? An apology? Fine. I'm sorry. Liam hurt Chloe's feelings. There. Happy? The non-apology was almost impressive in its insincerity. Your son physically shoved my daughter and called her worthless while you laughed. If you think that deserves a casual, sorry he hurt her feelings, you're even more disconnected than I thought. Her face flushed. You want to talk about being disconnected? You've been jealous of me our entire lives. I have a successful husband, a beautiful home, and happy kids. You're alone, struggling, and bitter about it. This whole thing is just you lashing out because your life didn't turn out like mine. The words were designed to hurt, pulled from a lifetime of knowing exactly where my insecurities lived. 5 years ago, they would have worked. They would have made me shrink, apologize, beg for forgiveness for daring to have feelings. Instead, I felt nothing but contempt. If this is what success looks like, I'll stick with my struggling, bitter life. At least my daughter knows kindness. Now move your foot before I move it for you. She stepped back, shocked. I shut the door and locked it, listening to her stand there for several minutes before finally leaving. Chloe appeared in the doorway. Was that Aunt Olivia? Yes. I don't want to see Liam anymore. You don't have to, sweetie. I promise. Monday morning, I walked into Brenda's office and told her I wanted to discuss the Denver position. Her face lit up with a smile that told me I'd made the right choice. The details came together faster than expected. The company would cover moving expenses, provide a housing stipend for the first 3 months, and the salary increase was substantial, 30% more than I currently made, enough to finally breathe financially. I gave notice on my duplex, enrolled Chloe in her new school, and started packing. Each box represented a piece of the life I was leaving behind, and I felt lighter with every one I taped shut. Carol called 2 weeks before the move. "Olivia told me you're leaving. Running away won't solve anything." "I'm not running. I'm choosing a better life for my daughter and myself." "Without even discussing it with your family? That's incredibly selfish." "Selfish?" I let the word hang there. I've spent 5 years giving Olivia everything she asked for, draining myself dry to help her, and the one time I choose myself, I'm selfish? She needs you. Her boys need their aunt. Her boys need to learn that cruelty has consequences. So does she. You're willing to destroy this family over a child's quarrel. Liam didn't quarrel with Chloe. He lashed out with hurtful words and a physical shove while his mother encouraged him. If you can't see the difference, that explains a lot about why Olivia turned out the way she did. The sharp intake of breath on the other end gave me a moment of savage satisfaction. "I raised both of you to be better than this," Carol said coldly. "No, you raised Olivia to believe she deserved everything and me to believe I deserved whatever was left over. I'm done accepting scraps." I hung up before she could respond. The day before the move, my Aunt Helen called. Unlike Carol, she'd always been someone I could trust. "Your mother is having a meltdown," she said without preamble. "Thought you should know." "Let me guess. I'm ungrateful, selfish, and breaking the family apart." "All that and more. She's planning some kind of intervention at her birthday party. Wants to corner you into reconciling with Olivia. Good thing I won't be there." "Atta girl. I'm proud of you, by the way. Took you long enough to grow a spine where those two are concerned, but better late than never." Her blunt support made my eyes sting. "Thanks, Aunt Helen. That sister of yours has been a spoiled nightmare since she was 6 years old. Your mother created that monster, and you've been enabling it by being the family doormat. Moving to Denver is the smartest thing you've done in years." We talked for another hour. She gave me her friend's contact information in Denver, someone who ran a women's networking group that might help me build a social circle. We made plans for her to visit once I got settled. It was the first conversation with family in weeks that didn't leave me feeling drained. Moving day arrived with unexpected sunshine. The moving truck pulled away, loaded with our belongings, and Chloe stood on the sidewalk looking at our duplex one last time. "Are you sad?" I asked her. "A little, but mostly excited. Our new place has a park across the street." "It does. And your room is bigger. And no mean cousins." "Definitely no mean cousins." She took my hand, and we got in the car for the long drive north. My phone had been blowing up all morning. Messages from Carol, Olivia, and even David demanding I reconsider, accusing me of overreacting, promising things would be different if I stayed. I turned it off completely. Denver welcomed us with gray skies and the smell of rain, so different from the dry heat we'd left behind. The apartment the company had arranged exceeded my expectations. 2 bedrooms, updated kitchen, and yes, that park visible from the living room window. Chloe ran from room to room, her excitement contagious. She'd been nervous about the move, worried about making new friends and starting over, but kids were resilient, more resilient than adults gave them credit for. I, on the other hand, felt the weight of what I'd done settling over me. Cutting off my family, moving across the country, starting completely fresh at 34 years old. It was terrifying and exhilarating in equal measure. The first week passed in a blur of unpacking, orientation at work, and getting Chloe settled in school. The second week brought the reality of my choices into sharp focus. Carol's birthday came and went without me. I sent a card, but no gift, no phone call. Olivia sent a long, rambling email about how I'd ruined the celebration, how Carol had cried, how the whole family was talking about my betrayal. I deleted it without finishing. Work became my sanctuary. The creative director role challenged me in ways I hadn't experienced in years. My team was talented and motivated. My ideas were valued. And for the first time in my career, I felt like I was building something meaningful rather than just treading water. Brenda pulled me aside a month in. "You've exceeded every expectation I had," she said. "The campaign you pitched for the Riverside account was brilliant. They loved it. Thank you. I'm just doing my job." "No, you're doing exceptional work. I'm glad you decided to make the move." So was I. Every day that realization grew stronger. Chloe flourished, too. She made friends quickly, joined the school art club, and started smiling more than I'd seen in months. The shadow that had fallen over her after Liam's outburst gradually lifted. One evening, about 3 months after the move, she asked if we could video call Grandma Carol. "Are you sure?" I kept my voice neutral. "You know things are complicated right now. I miss her, and she didn't do anything wrong." "Not really." It was on Olivia and Liam. Out of the mouths of children came uncomfortable truths. My daughter was right. My mother had enabled Olivia's behavior, had pressured and guilted me, but she also loved Chloe in her own flawed way. "Okay, we can call her." Carol answered on the second ring, her face appearing on the screen with an expression of surprise and hope that made me feel complicated things. "Grandma." Chloe's joy was genuine. "Oh, sweetheart, I've missed you so much." Carol's eyes were already wet. They talked about school, new friends, and the park. I stayed quiet, letting them have their moment. When Chloe ran off to grab a drawing she wanted to show, Carol's attention shifted to me. "You look good," she said quietly. "I feel good. I've been thinking a lot about what you said, about how I raised you both." I waited. Apologies from Carol were rare and usually came with conditions. "I don't know if I can admit you were completely right, but you weren't completely wrong either." She looked away from the camera. "I did favor Olivia. She was difficult, and it was easier to give her what she wanted than deal with the tantrums. You were easy, so I took advantage of that." The admission shocked me into silence. "I'm not asking you to forgive me or come back or reconcile with your sister. I just wanted you to know I heard you." "Thank you, I managed." Chloe returned with her drawing, and the moment passed. After they said goodbye, I sat with what Carol had said, turning it over in my mind like a stone. It wasn't enough to fix everything. Years of damage couldn't be undone with one conversation. But it was something, a crack in the foundation of denial that had supported our family dynamics for decades. 2 months after the move, I got an unexpected email. David, of all people, writing a lengthy message that started with an apology and ended with a request. Their marriage was in trouble, he wrote. Olivia had been spiraling since I left, drinking more, shopping compulsively, and picking fights constantly. She'd been fired from her part-time job for showing up late repeatedly. Liam's behavior at school had deteriorated to the point where they'd been called in for multiple conferences about bullying. I know we don't deserve your help, he wrote, but I don't know what else to do. She won't listen to me. She needs her sister. I read it 3 times, feeling that old familiar pull of family obligation trying to hook into my chest and drag me back. Then I wrote a response. Olivia doesn't need her sister. She needs a therapist, accountability, and to face the consequences of her choices. I hope you get her the help she actually needs, but I'm not part of that equation anymore. I wish you well. I hit send before I could second-guess myself. Sarah visited for a long weekend in late fall. We'd stayed in touch since I'd left, and she wanted to see my new life. Over wine after Chloe went to bed, I told her everything that had happened. Do you regret it? She asked, cutting them off, moving, all of it? Not even a little bit. Some days I feel guilty about it, but I don't regret it. Good. They were bleeding you dry. You look happier than I've ever seen you. She was right. Despite the complicated feelings, the occasional guilt, and the grief for what I'd lost, I was fundamentally happier, lighter, free from the constant weight of other people's expectations and demands. The holidays approached with an anxiety I hadn't anticipated. Thanksgiving and Christmas had always meant family gatherings. Carol's elaborate meals, watching Chloe play with her cousins, despite Liam's territorial behavior. This year would be different. Aunt Helen saved us. She flew up for Thanksgiving week, bringing warmth and laughter that filled our apartment. She and Chloe bonded over baking disasters and afternoon walks in the rain. Having her there made the holiday feel less like something I was missing and more like something new I was creating. Carol asked if I'd convince you to come home for Christmas, Helen mentioned on her last night. What did you tell her? That you are home, and she's welcome to visit if she can behave herself. I hugged my aunt tightly. Thank you for always being in my corner. Someone had to be. Your mother loves you. She's just terrible at showing it. Olivia, on the other hand, only loves herself. The blunt assessment made me laugh despite its harsh truth. Christmas came with an unexpected gift. Carol booked a flight to Denver without telling me. Just showed up at my door on Christmas Eve with a suitcase and a nervous expression. I should have called, she said, but I was afraid you'd say no. Chloe squealed with delight and dragged her grandmother inside. I stood there processing, trying to decide how I felt about this development. Over the next 3 days, Carol and I had more honest conversations than we'd managed in my entire adult life. She told me about her own childhood, raised by a critical mother who showed love through impossible standards. She talked about her fears when she'd had Olivia, a kicky baby who screamed for months, and how she'd learned to manage through appeasement. Then you came along, and you were so easy in comparison. You slept through the night, you rarely fussed, and I took advantage of that. I let Olivia get away with so much because dealing with her was exhausting, and I let you handle too much too young because you were capable. I needed a mother, Not a job as Olivia's handler, I said quietly. I know I failed you. I'm trying to do better now, but I understand if it's too late. It's not too late for you and Chloe. For us, I don't know. We're going to have to rebuild from scratch, and that means boundaries. What kind of boundaries? No guilting me about Olivia. No pressure to reconcile. No using Chloe as leverage. If you can't respect those, you can't be part of our lives here. She nodded slowly. I can do that. I want to do that. Time would tell if she meant it. But it was a start. After Carol left, I felt settled in a way I hadn't since the move. The last thread of unfinished business had been addressed, not perfectly, but adequately. Work continued to exceed expectations. 6 months in, I was promoted again, this time to senior creative director, overseeing multiple teams across different accounts. The salary increase was substantial, and for the first time in my adult life, I had savings that actually accumulated instead of being drained by emergencies or family obligations. Chloe turned 8 with a birthday party full of new friends, her laughter echoing through the park as kids ran wild on the playground. Watching her blow out candles, I thought about what her life would have looked like if we'd stayed, the constant comparison to Liam and Noah, the subtle and not so subtle messages that she was less than, the financial stress that would have limited her opportunities. This life wasn't perfect. We still had hard days. Money was still sometimes tight, and I occasionally felt the ache of severed family connections. But it was ours, built on our terms, free from toxicity and obligation that poisoned everything it touched. A year after the move, Olivia sent one final message. I get it now. You're not coming back. I won't say I understand why you threw away your family over nothing, but I'm done trying to convince you. Carol says you're happy in Denver. I hope it was worth it. I stared at those words for a long time. Over nothing, she still couldn't see it. Couldn't grasp what she'd done or why it mattered. Maybe she never would. I typed a response and then deleted it. Then another. Finally, I settled on something simple. It was worth everything. I wish you well, Olivia. I really do. But I'm exactly where I need to be. I hit send and blocked her number. That chapter of my life was closed. Standing at my office window months later, looking out at Denver's skyline with rain streaking the glass, I thought about the woman I'd been when I arrived. Scared, uncertain, carrying wounds that hadn't fully healed. That version of me seemed like someone I'd known a long time ago. Brenda appeared at my door. Got a minute? Want to discuss the possibility of you heading up our new Portland office? Another opportunity, another choice, another step forward. I smiled. Absolutely. Let's talk. My daughter was thriving in a school that valued kindness. My mother visited quarterly and actually listened when I spoke. My career had exploded in ways I'd never imagined possible. I had genuine friendships built on mutual respect rather than one-sided obligation. The cost had been high. I'd lost my sister, probably permanently. Extended family relationships were strained or severed. Some people would always think I'd overreacted, thrown away something precious over a child's quarrel. But they hadn't been there. They hadn't watched their daughter get hurt and mocked while her own aunt laughed. They hadn't spent years being drained dry by people who took everything and gave nothing back except judgment and contempt. I'd walked away from people who saw me as a resource to exploit rather than a person to value. That wasn't loss. That was liberation. My phone buzzed with a text from Chloe's school. She'd won an award in the art competition, and they wanted me to come to the ceremony. I grabbed my coat, told Brenda we'd continue our discussion later, and headed out into the rain. This life, the one I built from scratch by choosing myself, was worth every difficult moment it had taken to get here. Some bridges needed to burn to light the way forward. I had no regrets.